pink might be the only color on Earth that has managed to offend almost everyone equally. Men won't touch it, and a huge number of women actively avoid it too, which is interesting, because the reasons are completely different, and both of them are kind of embarrassing. Today we're getting into the psychology of why humans have declared war on a color. And spoiler, none of it is actually about the color. Let's start with the most inconvenient historical fact in this entire conversation. In 1918, a major American fashion magazine wrote that pink is the stronger, more decided color, and therefore more suitable for boys. Blue was considered delicate and dainty for girls. The gender flip happened somewhere between the 1940s and 1950s. Not through science, not through research, through marketing. Department stores and baby product companies needed a way to sell twice as much stuff. Separate color coding was the solution. Pink went to girls, blue went to boys. Everyone accepted it without question. So the entire foundation of why people have opinions about this color is a business decision made by people trying to sell more onesies. Now, here is where the science gets genuinely strange. In 1979, researcher Alexander Schaus found that a specific shade, now called Baker-Miller pink, physically reduces muscle strength within 2.7 seconds of exposure. American prisons painted holding cells this color to reduce inmate aggression. Pink activates the hypothalamus, causing a measurable drop in adrenaline. It biologically calms the human brain in literally every study subject, regardless of gender. So, the color that half the population has a strong emotional reaction to is chemically trying to do the exact opposite of what they're feeling. Their hatred is overriding their own biology, which is a remarkable amount of effort to put into a color. Now let's talk about both sides of this, because this is not a gendered issue. This is a human issue. For men, research in social psychology points to something called precarious manhood theory, the idea that masculinity feels culturally fragile and requires constant reinforcement. Studies show that when men feel their identity is under threat, they instinctively avoid anything coded as feminine, including pink. It's not conscious. It's a defensive reflex built by decades of social conditioning. But here's the part that gets far less attention. A significant number of women reject pink just as strongly, and their reason is completely different and honestly more complex. As women entered professional workplaces through the 1970s and 1980s, pink became associated with being dismissed, being not taken seriously, being seen as decorative rather than competent. Women who wanted to be respected in boardrooms and operating theaters and courtrooms began actively distancing themselves from pink because the color had been used by a patriarchal system to keep femininity in a box labeled less than. Psychologists call this internalized misogyny, where women absorb the cultural message that feminine things are inferior and begin rejecting those things themselves in order to survive in spaces that were not built for them. So women weren't rejecting pink because they genuinely disliked it. Many were rejecting what pink had been made to mean: weakness, frivolity, of being underestimated. Two completely different groups, two completely different psychological mechanisms, both pointing at the same color, both reactions manufactured, not natural. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The color itself did nothing. Pink did not ask to be gendered. It did not ask to be weaponized as a tool for dismissing women. It did not ask to become a masculinity threat. It is a wavelength of light sitting at approximately 700 nanometers. It has no agenda. Everything we feel about it was installed by culture, by marketing, by systems that benefited from keeping people in separate, smaller boxes. The hatred of pink, whether it comes from a man protecting his identity or a woman protecting her credibility, is ultimately a reaction to the same root cause. A society that decided femininity was something to be contained, and then color-coded it for easy identification. So let's land this. Pink was originally neutral, then masculine, then forcibly feminized by marketers, then used as a tool to signal, take this person less seriously, then rejected by women trying to survive that system, and avoided by men anxious about social identity. And through all of this, biologically, the color was just sitting there trying to lower everyone's blood pressure. You can like pink or not like it. That's entirely yours. But if your feeling about it is strong, and it's worth asking where that feeling actually came from, because the answer is almost certainly not you. That's the psychology. A color got caught in the middle of a very old human argument, and it had absolutely no say in the matter. Subscribe if this made you think. I'll see you in the next one.